I'm back. So we just listened to the album. You could have been here for it. If you weren't, that's okay. It's an interesting album by Kendrick Lamar. It's not something that I think really anyone would have been expecting. And I want to start this off by prefacing, I've listened to this once. It just came. It's brand new. It literally just came out. No one has had time to listen to this twice unless they had access to it beforehand. So anyone who's listened to it has only heard it once. So any opinions that you're hearing now are coming off of one listen, and I want that to be very clear. It's not going to be an extremely well-formed opinion yet. I think with an album like this, there's a lot of depth, there's a lot of stuff to look into. As I said at the end of my stream, it's heavy. It's thick, it's messy. Initial reaction to the whole album, I liked it. I don't know if I loved it, but I liked it. I liked Disc 2 more than Disc 1. I liked songs off Disc 1 more than I liked songs off Disc 2, though. Man, it's an interesting one. I'm going to listen to it quite a bit before I give like a real opinion on it. But we're just going to go through it. We're going to talk about it. United in Grief. It's an interesting starter track. It kind of sets the tone for the whole album. There's a lot to go into here. It's braggadocious without being braggadocious, if that makes any sense. It's braggadocious while setting the perils of the things that come with being braggadocious. Yeah, that's the way that I'll put it. I think that's the only thing that makes sense to me. N95... Oh, man, it's I don't think it's as heavy as United in Grief, but it's hard to go through this track by track and be like, oh man, this song and this and this and that. I loved N95's beat. It was grimy in a way that I appreciated. Worldwide Steppers, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I think it set the tone. And I think with this thematic Mr. Moral and the Big Steppers, and the fact that he's selling it as a double LP, even though it's kind of short for a double LP, you need... I guess he wanted a title track for each disc. So one would be the Big Steppers, so Worldwide Steppers, and the other one would be Mr. Moral, which is on the other disc. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. It's interesting in this how much Kodak Black is sprinkled throughout it. It's kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't really know Kodak Black all that well. I've heard a couple of his songs. I don't even think I've heard a whole Kodak album. Die Hard, I didn't love. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. Maybe I'll love it on my 5th listen. Maybe I'll love it on my 2nd listen. I don't know. It was okay. I just didn't really care about it. I got it. I didn't care about it. Father Time might be my favorite song off this. Maybe because I relate to it the most. I also love Sampha. I love Sampha so much. Have it neat, no chaser, neat, no chaser, neat, no chaser. I was raised in a way that's pretty rough, at least by most people around where I live standards. Comparing it to the world, it's not that rough. But the way that people in my family drank was you drank to get drunk. There's no, I'm drinking Neffa. You drank to get drunk. You drank to cope. So it was drinking shots straight with no chasers. You were a bitch if you drank with chasers. So that's what I grew up just being used to. And so having that along with this thematic line of daddy issues, which is something that is a part of all of my siblings' lives. I'm the youngest of 8. It is a core part of all of my siblings' lives, is this through line of daddy issues. And it's because we all had shitty fathers. And so there's something about that that really kind of pulled me in. The Rich interlude is okay. It's fine. I'm pretty sure it's just Kodak Black just doing stuff. Rich Spirit is a good song. It didn't stand out to me crazy. We Cry Together gave me Kim energy. Kim by Eminem energy. There's something very honest about it, because I think that we like to hide the ugly parts of relationships, but we all know they exist because we all go through them. But when we're around other people, we try to act like they don't exist. And so there's something really beautiful about throwing something like that into music, throwing something like that into art, so that we can all grasp onto it and relate to it. I can definitely relate to it. I'd be surprised if you couldn't. You might not be able to relate to the level of... I'm not even going to say the level of aggression. I was going to say the level of aggression. You may not be able to relate to the words he's using, but you can relate to the passion and the emotion there. And if you can't, I actually feel sorry for you. Purple Hearts, I think I just saw Ghostface and I expected more out of it. I didn't love this song. I found it a little annoying. I didn't love it. So that's disc 1. By far, the standout song on this disc is Father Time. I love it. It's probably Father Time, and then probably in 95, then probably United in Grief, and then We Cry Together. Those are probably the top 4 out of 9. I know it's ridiculous to have a top 4 out of 9, but that's what I have. My least favorite is either the Rich interlude or Die Hard. Rich interlude doesn't even feel like a real song, so it's hard to put it in there, but we'll put Die Hard then, if we're not going to count Rich interlude. Disc 2 felt more cohesive. It felt more like a thematic thing. Like, it felt like it went together better. Count Me Out was a gorgeous start. It was heavy. This side of it felt like I was sitting in a church. I don't know why. It felt like disc 2, I was sitting in a church. Disc 1 did not feel like I was sitting in a church at all. Disc 1 felt like I was in someone's beat up living room. Disc 1 felt like I was seeing some shit out of a beat up house's windows. This felt like I was in someone's home. This one felt like I was in a church. The whole thing. I wish I could tell you why. Maybe it was like in confessional, or I was talking to a therapist, or something more structured about it. But I feel like Count Me Out and Crown work so well together that they're hard to even separate. Crown felt more like a R&B song. I'm going to say that also about Mirror, but Crown felt more like an R&B song, and it felt like an R&B song that accompanied the rap song that was Count Me Out. Silent Hill, I think it's going to be one of the hits off the album. I think it's going to be one of the ones that's all over the place. I didn't love it or hate it. It was kind of middle road for me, but I could vibe with it. And I think it's going to do well. Savior Interlude, similar to Rich Interlude, but Savior Interlude was just Baby Keem being Baby Keem. It was nice. It was real nice. And then Savior itself, you start getting to this place in these songs where it starts getting really personal, and it starts feeling like a therapy session. And I know that Kendrick Lamar is introspective, and I know that he talks a lot about himself and the situations he grew up in and his society and his culture and all of these things. But this feels a little different. As soon as you hit Savior until you get to Mirror, it feels like you've peeled back many, 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 many layers of the onion that is Kendrick Lamar that we haven't seen before. Like, Father Time, to me, is the only thing off this first half that does that. But it doesn't do it to the level that, say, Auntie Diaries or Mr. Moral or Mother I Sober do. Man, I don't like them as much as Father Time, but I like them a lot. And I'm interested to see the impact that they have over the next month, over the next couple months, over the next year. And I'm interested to see which ones are standouts to other people. I'm interested to see what other people care about when it comes to these songs. I'm interested to see if this album does well. I think the album's going to do well. I don't see a reason why it won't. I'm sure there's going to be people who shit on it. I'm sure there's going to be people who dick write it. I'm sure there's going to be people who are obsessed with it. I'm sure we're going to have the whole spectrum. I'm sure of it. He's too big of a name. He's too popular in the game. And this album isn't, I imagine, what was even close to what people were expecting. On Auntie Diaries, you hear him talking about an issue that's really interesting. And it's really interesting because I don't think you would expect it to come out of such a high-profile rapper's mouth, where he's talking about how he had an aunt who, it's not clear if she became a man or if she was just a very masculine female who was lesbian. It's that wasn't made clear to me. Maybe I have to listen to it again. Maybe it is clearer than I think. And then he talks about an uncle or cousin who becomes an aunt way before Bruce Jenner. Like that, it's interesting. I'm curious if people are going to take this and go, wow, or if they're going to go, how dare he jump on the backs of these crusades. I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't. I think it's a beautiful song, and I think it's interesting because he isn't going and saying he's for or against or he's this or he's that or da 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 da. He's explaining his family. That's all he's doing, and it's interesting. And then you get to the heaviest song on the album by far. It's by far the heaviest song on the album. Might be one of the heaviest songs of the year. Might be one of the heaviest songs of the decade. Mother I Sober, where we get into issues of sexual abuse in his family and in black families and in the families of musicians. And we get into this thematic thing where any issues that come up in his life, his family assumes it's because he was molested when he was a child, because it was something that had happened so often to other people in his family. And you also have this other issue where he saw his mother get beaten up and he internalized the fact that he didn't do something about it. And this is something that a lot of people may not be able to relate to. But I think when you grow up in a situation or in situations where you see violence on your own family members from a very young age, especially to females and children in your family, and you, especially as a male, but it might be as a female as well, especially as a male, feel like you can't do anything about it, feel like you weren't able to do anything about it, you take that upon yourself. And a lot of times you push to where you get into a position to where you'll always be able to do something about it. And I think this is where a lot of that like macho bravado comes from in a lot of these families, in a lot of these cultures. I mean, I grew up in a way where from a very early age I was taught that I was a man, and because I'm a man I have to do something about it, about anything. Didn't matter what it was. If someone hurt someone in my family, I had to do something about it. And there's still something inside me that feels that way, and I'll feel that way until I die. If that's a good thing, I don't know. If it's a bad thing, I don't know. But it's something that's discussed here in a way that I think is important. And I think the fact that it's mixed with this through line of abuse is important as well, because I think we like to separate forms of abuse, and it's important to separate abuse. But abuse is abuse, whether it's sexual, whether it's verbal, whether it's physical, whatever it may be. And I'm glad to see someone talking about it. It's a heavy damn song. I'm gonna have to listen to it a bunch more times. It's got to be my number 2 on the album. It's a hard listen to a degree, and I'm curious how many people will really get behind it. And I'm curious if Kendrick Lamar will be vilified for any of this. And I'm curious to see what happens now that Kendrick is done with TDE and all of this. There's a lot to get into here, and I could talk about it for a long time, but I don't want to spend all night. I'd like to go to bed. Mirror is an interesting song because it's kind of an impactful yet very simple song. I choose me, I'm sorry. I choose me, I'm sorry. I choose me, I'm sorry. It juxtaposes kind of this mother I sober to a degree, because a big through line of, especially the way that I was raised and a lot of people were raised, is put other people ahead of you, protect other people. And to have that then fade into I choose me, I'm sorry, is interesting, because it's saying I'm putting myself ahead of you, and we shouldn't say we're sorry for that. But when you're raised in such a way, you feel sorry for putting yourself first. It's interesting. It really is. It really is. I'm going to listen to this album a lot more times. It's kind of a long album. It's not crazy long. Hour 13 is not crazy long. It's not what I was expecting. I don't think it's what anyone was expecting. I'm not going to give this album a ranking. I'm not going to give this album anything like that. My favorite 2 songs are Father Time and Mother I Sober. I think they're the heaviest songs. I think there's a lot to them. And I think there's a lot to the whole album. I will say that I like disc 2 as a whole more than I like disc 1. I think it was interesting how Kodak Black was sprinkled throughout this. I was expecting more Baby Keem. He was in here an okay amount, but I was expecting more Baby Keem. This is my reaction to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers by Kendrick Lamar. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know if you hated it. Let me know everything about it. All right? I'll be back on tomorrow. Bye.